how can it be that the goal of life is to be liberated from the cycle of life? It's a very big misunderstanding, in a way, that's perpetuated in the philosophy and the spiritual philosophy by those who don't really fully get it. And when you are taking terms that are written in ancient Sanskrit, or you're taking concepts that have come down in an oral tradition, unless they're being taught by people who really get it, or by people who have studied with those who really get it, there's a whole, whirlpool almost of possible misunderstandings. And one of them is this, that the idea of life is to be liberated from life. No. Life is beautiful. Life is full of incredible beauty. The enlightened masters I know, the ones in whose presence I have had the blessing to be, are the most alive, the most connected, the most likely to love and pay attention to flowers. I mean, you drive with Puja Swamiji around some city, some foreign city somewhere, and you'll pass a turn and he'll say, "We've been here before." And the driver will say, "Well, yeah, this is, the street that I live on where you're staying, or this is the street that our temple is on where you were last night." And Swamiji will say, "I remember that tree. I remember that bush." He's not reading street signs. He's not noticing, the white shuttered pink home. It's, "I remember that tree. This is the only place in all where we've driven in the city that tree exists. I remember this." So they are the most connected, the most in love with life and with creation. That from which we need to be liberated is the false identification with the body as who we are, as our life. That's where the suffering comes from. And so when we talk about moksha, liberation, it's frequently, but incorrectly, spoken about as just something that happens after death. Well, once you no longer have a body, then you have moksha. Well, that's not true, because then you're going to get another body. It's like you're going to keep having to do 5th grade until you can do long division. It's not that June comes around and suddenly, long division is a thing of your past. If you didn't get it this time around, come September, you're going to be right back in 5th grade. And it's the same thing with our bodies. Yeah, you get maybe a temporary reprieve, but then you're right back there in a brand new body and you've got to go through it all again. But you don't even pick up right where you left off. I mean, it's not like you pick up right at long division. You've got to go through it all. You get born. My adopted daughter, who's now in her 2nd year, studying in South India, studying software engineering, said something really beautiful to me. Last time she was here, we were talking about the stress that so many students go through, the really horrible stress that they go through, and how even come exam time you read these stories, way too many stories, of students committing suicide due to their exams. And she was so wise. She said, "I would never do something like that." She said, "Because if I committed suicide and I had to do this again," she said, "I'd have to take my 10th grade exams all over again." She said, "I'm so glad to be done with that I cannot imagine starting over and being prepared to again go through 10th grade exams." So as we come back, you've got to keep learning what it is you didn't learn. But yeah, you start again as a brand new baby. And so the goal, liberation, is not about, oh, take my body and then I'll be free. It's about how can I, in the body, and here's the kicker, using the body means using my brain, which is a physical part of my body. It's made up of very physical form, but it is the organ through which I experience my mind, through which I experience my consciousness, and therefore it is the only tool into my consciousness. So using my body, how can I realize I'm not the body? How can I have an experience through my body, brain, in which I realize I am not the body, brain, but I am consciousness. I am soul. And when you have that, that's what we talk about, Jiva Mukti. Free in the body. And that's the goal. Not free from the body, free in the body. If you're in joy and in love, the body is a boon. It's the eyes through which you see sunsets. It's the eyes through which you see your beloved. It's the, tongue through which you get to eat chocolate ice cream. It's the ears through which you get to hear beautiful music. When you're joyful and in love, you can't use the body enough to smell flowers and fragrance and hear. You want to soak it all up. The body is only a cage. When you've identified with it as you, and therefore it brings you suffering. So the liberation is in the body, not from the body. It's liberation from that which binds me, my ego, and all the workings of it. The jealousy, the anger, the expectations, the frustration, the limited vision, the identities through which we move through the world. They're like stencils. Anybody learn to write by using stencils? You want to know what an A looks like? Well, you've got a stencil, and it's a big plastic thing, and it goes on a piece of paper, and you just have to scribble in, and you pull away the stencil, you've got an A. Well, if that's what's on your eyes and you move through the world looks like an A. Everything else is blocked out. It doesn't matter what you see. It's an A. It's an A superimposed on a garden. It's an A superimposed on a mountain. It's an A superimposed on a person. And that's what our egos do to us. That's when I was talking about we each have themes. So your stencil is whatever that theme of the stories your mind tells you is. And sometimes it's complex, sometimes it may be ABC. But that's how you see the world. That's what you need freedom from. Because when you can pull that off and really see, that's when things get really beautiful.